What if I told you that everything you thought you knew about XRP is only half the story? Because right now, behind the scenes, there's a hidden battle playing out between private XRP and public XRP, and the outcome could decide the future of this entire market. Some people think they're holding the whole deck, but the truth is most retail investors are only seeing the surface. This video is about to take you deeper. By the time you finish watching, you'll understand what's really going on with XRP and why the private versus public conversation matters more than ever. This is not financial advice. Here's the reality. When we talk about XRP, most people immediately think of the public market, the exchanges, the charts, the swings in price. But that's only one piece of the puzzle. Institutions, governments, and banks are moving in silence, using private ledgers, private settlement channels, and private agreements that don't make the headlines. And yet, the effects of these moves eventually ripple out to us. Ask yourself, if XRP was designed as the ultimate bridge asset, wouldn't it make sense that there are two tracks running at the same time, one for retail eyes and one shielded from the public? And here's where it gets controversial. Some insiders are claiming that the real value of XRP won't even appear on the public exchanges we stare at every day. Instead, the biggest price action may be happening in a system of private settlements, transactions you and I will never see. But wait until you hear the connections that are surfacing. Stick with me, because the deeper we go, the clearer this picture becomes. Think about this. Ripple has always positioned itself not as a crypto company, but as a global payments infrastructure provider. That language matters. If Ripple is working with central banks, payment giants, and financial institutions, do you really think they're doing billion-dollar tests on public exchanges with retail liquidity? Or is it more likely they're operating within private sandboxes where they can control every variable? And yet somehow, those private experiments will eventually determine the value of what you're holding in your wallet right now. But here's the kicker. What if the public XRP price is simply a placeholder, a distraction, while the private system establishes a true valuation far above what we see today? Imagine banks transacting with XRP at rates retail has no access to. Sounds impossible? Well, ask yourself, why has Ripple built private ledger solutions for central banks? Why do we keep hearing about pilots for CBDCs powered by XRP ledger technology? And why are settlement times being optimized in ways that retail speculation has nothing to do with? Now let's pull in some of the conversations blowing up on X today. One post that went viral pointed out that if private XRP markets are already operating, it explains why Ripple doesn't sweat day-to-day price movements. While retail investors panic about dips, institutions could already be transacting with XRP at stable, agreed-upon values behind closed doors. And the thread ended with this chilling line: retail is the beta test, institutions are the main event. Think about that for a moment. Another hot take making waves argued that the so-called two-tier system of XRP isn't a conspiracy. It's just how the financial world works. There's always a wholesale market and a retail market. The public market may never see the explosive institutional rates directly, but once liquidity merges, the gap has to close. If that happens, the repricing moment could be violent, instant, and irreversible. And here's a question to keep you locked in. What if this is why we've seen so much regulatory chess being played out with XRP? The SEC case wasn't just about a token, it was about controlling access, timing the reveal, and deciding when the private and public tracks finally converge. This changes everything. Stick around, because the next part is going to open your eyes. Let's challenge a myth head-on. People say, if private markets exist, why don't we see proof? But here's what most don't realize. You're not going to see screenshots of closed banking ledgers circulating on social media. What you can see are the footprints. Ripple announcing central bank partnerships, the steady build-out of RippleNet, the integration of ODL, and the silence from Ripple on retail speculation. They're building infrastructure, not trading rooms. That silence speaks louder than any pump or dump. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. If private XRP markets are already in motion, retail price action could be deliberately kept suppressed. Why? Because institutions need time to accumulate, governments need time to legislate, and the system needs time to mature. It's like the calm before a hurricane. The public price is the mask. Behind it, the real machine is roaring. Let me ask you directly, do you really believe banks are going to use Bitcoin with its 10-minute confirmation times and unpredictable fees as their settlement layer? Or Ethereum with its ever-shifting gas costs? XRP was built for speed, efficiency, and neutrality. If you were running a trillion-dollar financial pipeline, which ledger would you choose? Now here's the wild scenario many aren't ready for. One day, the private XRP markets and the public ones could suddenly merge, and in that instant, retail holders may find that the asset they've been holding at cents or dollars is suddenly being repriced to match institutional values. This isn't just hopium. It's consistent with how new financial infrastructures roll out. They begin in testnets, sandboxes, and private environments before going live across public markets. But let's flip the script. What if the private and public markets never fully merge? What if retail is permanently locked out of the institutional flows? In that case, XRP could still pump hard, but it would be fueled by speculation and eventual FOMO once people realize they've been sidelined from the bigger game. Either way, public XRP has only one direction once the private side scales: up. Here's why you should care. If you're doubting XRP's future like many are, you're missing the point. XRP isn't chasing hype like meme coins. It's quietly embedding itself into the plumbing of the financial system. And just like no one asks what TCP/IP is when they send an email, one day, no one will question what powers their instant cross-border payments. XRP will just be there, silently moving trillions. And we can't ignore the emotional side. Right now, retail holders feel like underdogs, mocked, doubted, dismissed. But history has a funny way of rewarding those who held through the disbelief. The same voices laughing today may be the ones scrambling tomorrow when the system flips. That's why conviction matters. So let me bring this home. The private versus public XRP debate isn't about conspiracy, it's about reality. Two systems are in play. One is loud, volatile, and visible. The other is quiet, stable, and hidden. The day those systems align will be the day the world sees the true purpose of XRP. And if you're here now, you're early. If this blew your mind, smash that like button, drop a comment with your XRP price target, subscribe for more insider-level breakdowns, and share this with the community. The more awareness we build, the stronger we get. This is Matthew reminding you, the future isn't waiting, it's already here. Together, we'll ride this wave to the moon. Let's go XRP family.